1 John chapter 5, today's message is going to be a lot different than normal. So usually we go through like a full passage and look at a lot of cross-reference passages, but today our study covers just one verse. It's 1 John chapter 5. It's the very last or the last verse of the epistle, verse 21. And here's what the Apostle John says. Little children, keep yourselves from idols. The title for today's teaching, if you're taking notes, is Screens, the modern day idols. We have a command in Scripture to guard and to protect ourselves from idols. And that really begs the question, well, then what is an idol? I'll give you a really simple definition. Now, an idol is simply something or someone that takes the place that God should have in a person's life. Idols are not just little wooden objects overlaid with silver or gold that people bow down to and worship. Here's an important point. Idols take many different forms. See, when we become obsessed with something and we give all of our time, our attention, our devotion to that thing, if it ain't God, then it has become an idol. Screens of all sorts, whether it's a smartphone, a TV, a computer, a tablet, an iPad, whatever it might be, screens have become one of the biggest idols today in our country and in much of the world. So I want you to go back in time with me for a few minutes and ask yourself the question, what was life like before screen mania? Yeah, especially before the smartphone. For me, I'll share with you a little bit about my life growing up. I spent so much time outdoors. I spent so much time socializing with people, exploring, learning. We didn't have smartphones. They didn't exist yet growing up. And we had dial-up internet, so if you're familiar with that, there's no point even trying to use the internet because, you could punch in one URL and then go make dinner and come back, and it might be halfway loaded. There wasn't much time on the internet. What was big and popular when I was growing up were video games and gaming systems. All of my friends had them, but my parents never let us have them in the house. Though in high school, we did sneak it a few times. My parents still don't know that, but to our shame. But my parents would kick us out of the house for hours on summer days or on the weekends. And if we said, well, it's boring outside, they'd say, well, find a way to entertain yourself. And my parents forced us to be creative and to use the imagination that God gave us. So what did we do? We played cops and robbers. We climbed trees. We shot pellet guns and honed our hunting skills. We studied animals and how to catch them. We made bike jumps and went off the jumps and ate it and got scraped up, and we became tougher. We went hiking in the mountains all around our house. And clearly I didn't grow up in Florida. And we marveled at the detail that God put into his creation. We played sports. We learned instruments. We invented things. Never very cool things, but, we tried. We learned survival skills and so much more. And when it got dark and we had to go inside for the night, the screen time that we got was Monday Night Football. Now it's like multiple nights of the week. We had Saturday night family movie night. Notice that. It was the whole family doing it together. After school, we'd get some time to watch TV here and there, but it was never for hours on end. So the rest of the night, if we didn't have homework, we, again, had to find things to entertain ourselves. And so what we did was we had a lot of undistracted family time that strengthened our relationships with each other. Our family would play games together. We'd talk together. My dad read the Bible to our family every single night. We had family dinner together every weeknight. Do you guys know what that is? That's where you sit together at the dining room table as a family and actually have dinner together. And, we would sit there, and again, there were no smartphones at the time, so there were no screens at the table, and we would just sit there, have dinner together, and talk about our day or just about whatever. And even now today, still, when we go back home to San Diego and visit, and our whole family is there, my dad still has a rule for even the adults, no screens at the table. When you're here, you need to be fully present with everyone. And you know what? It's amazing. We have quality family time together, and I would not trade that for the world. And it grieves me to see so many kids today doing nothing but just nothing like the things I mentioned, but instead sitting on their screens for hours, frying their brains and stunting their growth, setting them back years and missing out on so many of these important experiences of life. There's a reason, in case any parents have ever wondered, there's a really good reason why when we do youth camp, we don't allow the students to bring their phones. They can't even get out of the car when their parents drop them off and take their phone out of the car. It goes home with the parent for the weekend. If parents need anything, they can call a youth leader. And, you always have those students that whine and complain at first, but, they get over it pretty quick. And at the end of the weekend, so many kids say, man, that was really refreshing, not having my phone. And because we require them to be fully present with each other, with the Lord, with their leaders, and they experience an amazing thing. And guess what, family? The need is just as much for many adults today. So can everyone, this is the only time ever I ask this, can everyone get your phone out, please? Everyone, please get your phone out, open it up. Can you please click on the settings app? If you have an Android, I don't know how to help you. But if you could please go to Settings, scroll down to the tab that says Screen Time, and look at your daily average. Now, don't look for today, which is what it's already set on, because mine says 20 minutes. That's not going to be accurate. Right below that, it says See All Apps and Website Activity. Click on that. And then at the top, you see two options, day or week. Click on week, and then you just scroll down a tiny bit, and a thing will pop up where you can go back to the left. You guys see that? To last week. And what's your last week's daily average? Anybody want to share?
2 hours, 40 minutes.
Wow, I'm surprised that people actually want to share. That's impressive. Okay. Some of you are definitely lying right now. Another thing to look at right below your daily average, look at the apps that are most used and how much time you spend on those. Anyone feeling convicted? Anyone in denial? No, this isn't true. This is a mistake. And some of you guys, someone's near you looking at you no, it's accurate. So I want you guys to think about something. Okay, now you can put your phones away. Thanks. I want you guys to think about something that I see very often, and probably a lot of you guys see as well. And this is something I have observed in adults of all ages. Not just young adults, not just middle-aged people, but also seniors as well. Here's what I see adults of all ages doing so often. They're glued to their phone. They're scrolling aimlessly on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, the news, and so on. They're neglecting time with either their friends or their family or their kids to waste time on a screen. Neglecting time they could be spending with the Lord while surrendering their time and their mind to a screen. I've seen many parents giving their kids smartphones, their little kids, smartphones, tablets, a TV screen to sit in front of for hours because, I'm tired and I don't want to have to deal with them. And it's way easier because they actually are quiet and they don't bother me. And the parents are often doing the same thing on their phones. Here's something interesting. In a 2014 study that was done of kids between the ages of 6 to 12 years old, 62% of kids reported that their parents were often distracted when spending time with them. The top reason for the distraction? Cell phones. That was in 2014. I wonder what the numbers are like a decade later today in 2025. And so I want to take a few minutes today to talk about some of the negative effects that screens are often having on many adults today. We're going to look at 5 categories. The first is physical health. Studies have shown, I'm going to overload you guys with a lot of information today, so bear with me. Studies have shown that too much screen time has led to a lack of physical exercise and just a lack of body movement in general, and it has been linked to higher rates of obesity. One study has shown that adults who eat while watching TV tend to consume 10 to 25% more calories than what they usually consume when they're not distracted by screens. I see some of you looking at your spouse be like, Studies interestingly show that decreasing screen time has actually led to improved physical health overall. Category 2, sleep. Here's a fun fact for you. In case you didn't know, the human body produces melatonin, which is a sleep hormone, every day when the sun sets. Pretty cool, huh? The circadian rhythm and the melatonin in our bodies start to kick in every day as night falls. The problem is that most screens emit blue light, which actually prevents our bodies from producing melatonin, which, it causes us to not be able to sleep and to get tired the way that we were designed to at night. And generally, phones and tablets are worse because they're closer to our faces. Also, being engaged on a screen, whether it's a game or scrolling or watching TV, it keeps the mind alert, which hinders us from getting tired. So even after you turn the screen off and you immediately try to go to sleep, your brain is still firing and you're still thinking about a lot of the things you just saw on the screen. So it hinders you from being able to fall asleep as quickly. So too much screen time at night will negatively affect people's sleep cycle and their quality of sleep. Category 3, attention span. Too much screen time affects people's ability to focus. So I'm going to give you a list of things right here, and I want you to see if any of this applies to you. Excessive screen time can lead to the following: a decline in memory, difficulty concentrating. You're like, what? Being easily distracted, a decline in problem-solving skills and impulse control, and a decline in the ability to think and reason well. Here's an important point that will be on the screen if you're taking notes. Too much screen time kills motivation to be productive. A lot of people can attest to that. Too much screen time kills our motivation to do productive things like reading a book and learning, or working on household projects, chores, exercising, doing homework if you're in school, spending time with the Lord, spending time with other people. When people spend too much time on a screen, they don't want to do a lot of those other things. 4th category, mental health. Lower screen time is linked to higher life satisfaction. The opposite is also true with a higher screen time. By the way, high screen time among young adults is linked to these 3 things: more body dissatisfaction, more eating disorders, and a higher desire for cosmetic surgery. Think about that. That's sad. And that should cause us to ask, why? Well, I think there's a lot of reasons. One of them is because there is so much comparison, right? And especially social media is constantly feeding us the idea that you need everything that the world has to offer in order for you to be complete. Rather than what Scripture says, when Paul says in Colossians 2:10 that you are complete in Christ. So what do a lot of people do? Well, they spend their time, their money, their focus on doing everything they can to be like this celebrity or to mimic that influencer that they follow on social media. Remember, guys, this is just as kind of a side note. The way that people portray their lives online or on social media, it often doesn't actually match this thing called reality. So many of the pictures are filtered, they've been edited. Screens, whether it's social media or TV or whatever it might be, this is another important point. Screens are teaching and discipling people. What are we allowing them to teach us? And are we allowing them to shape our worldview? Some here will admit, yeah, I realize I am letting it shape my worldview. But here's the reality, guys. For most, if not all of us, it is influencing our worldview without us even knowing it. And let me just clarify. Personally, I don't think social media in and of itself is evil. I don't think it's good or evil. It's amoral. Social media can and is often used for a lot of good. Our church has an Instagram account. I have an Instagram account. Our youth group has an Instagram account, and we use it to get the gospel out to people and to share God's truth with people. So social media can and is often used for tons of good. It's amazing. I'm not saying social media in and of itself is bad and that no one should ever have it. The problem is that it's also used for a lot of bad. And we have to be really careful to make sure we have the right balance of what we view, how much time we're viewing, and what we allow to influence us. So why does all of that matter? Well, here's the fifth category of how it has had negative effects, and it is the spiritual effects. Screens and social media are incredibly addictive. In fact, did you know that social media is actually designed that way? To get people hooked on it so they just want to spend more time on it? Anything that you're addicted to or obsessed with probably qualifies as an idol. It replaces the position and priority that God should have in your life. A sad truth is that for many Christians, they can spend hours on a screen, but it's painful for them to even consider spending an hour without their phone, reading God's word, and praying. Their obsession with a screen or with an app on that screen has taken the place that God and the things of God should have in their life. And a question that should be asked is, what is this screen causing me to focus on? Or rather, who is this screen or this app causing me to focus on? What's the answer a lot of times? Self. And I'm speaking, by the way, just of leisure time. If you use like a computer or whatever for work, I'm not talking about using a screen for work. I'm talking about outside of work, leisure time. Outside of if you're in school, outside of doing a homework or a project for school. But here's the thing, guys. Screens and social media especially, it has caused people to become so obsessed with self, to be so self-absorbed. Well, let's consider what effects does that have on a Christian's relationship with Christ? If you think of what Jesus said in Luke 9:23, the very first thing he said, requirement he gave for anyone who wanted to be his disciple, what was it? You must die to self. In other words, you got to put yourself on the shelf. You got to put yourself aside and put Christ first. And yet, what's the world telling us to do constantly? The exact opposite. Promote yourself, love yourself, put yourself first. And you know, guys, we are learning a lot of that largely through our screens. Remember, screens are discipling people. I'm going to give you a little bit of application for this at the end, but I want to shift gears a little bit and talk specifically to parents in the room. Show of hands. How many of you are parents of minor children ages 18 and under? Okay. Show of hands again. For you parents in the room, how many of you would not be okay with your child having access to pornography? Show of hands. How many of you parents of minor children in the room would not be okay with your child talking to strangers alone in a private place where you don't know anything about that person, their age, their sex, their character, if they're a predator or not? How many of you would not be okay with that? Okay, I want to show you a video, and it's an ad that an organization put out. If you could please play the video.
Hey kiddo, it's about time for bed, okay?
Okay.
Well, remember, there's a box in the corner over there with all the pornographic material that's ever been made in the world, even the really weird stuff that could scar you for life. I'm trusting you not to look in there, okay?
Okay.
Feelings are for losers.
Oh, and this guy's gonna be in your corner all night just randomly spewing out hateful things. Just ignore him, okay? While I'm thinking of it, there's an order form on your desk where you can purchase illegal drugs. The mean girls from your school are gonna be standing there talking about you all night. And this Russian hacker's gonna keep asking for your password.
I'm not a hacker. Amazon customer service.
Just need you to ignore him, okay? Love you, buddy.
We ask too much of our kids when we give them a smartphone. Let's change the norm. Together.
Maybe we go around the room and share social security numbers.
Join the movement at smartphonefreechildhoodus.com.
Yeah. I'll get it anyway.
That's the reality of what we're facing today with screens. Now, maybe some of you parents are thinking, well, no, not my child. They're responsible. I trust them. Hey, if that's the case, that's awesome. That's great that you have that relationship with your child and that your child might be trustworthy. But listen, guys, whether your child is trustworthy or not, that may not be the main issue. For some of you, the main issue would be two things. One is that there is a world of bad content out there right at their fingertips, and they don't even have to be looking for it. They can totally innocently stumble across something bad that will have detrimental effects on their life. The second thing, it may not be about whether your child is trustworthy. It's more so about recognizing that your child is young, they are inexperienced in life, and like all of us, they have this thing called a sin nature, the flesh. And their flesh, not to mention the devil and the world, they want to pull your child down and destroy their lives and take them captive by all kinds of evil temptations. And in a moment of weakness, the enemy will capitalize on that and attack your child and you, all of us. And so we need to protect them and set up guardrails to help them. Did you know? A recent Pew Research study asked teens how much time they think they spend online. 50% of teens said that they are online almost constantly. By the way, that's double the number that answered that way a decade ago. A decade ago, only 24% said they were online almost constantly. A decade later, today, 50%. If that trend continues, man, what is it going to be like in 10 more years? Another interesting fact is that more recent studies are showing that teens are spending an average of 6 to 8 hours per day on all screen-based leisure activities. So that's gaming, social media, TV, and so on. So my wife and I put together an anonymous survey for our youth group here at Town Center Church. And 70 of our more than 100 students participated in the survey a couple weeks ago in preparation for this message. And again, it's anonymous, so no one knows what answers anyone gave. But I want to share with you a couple of the details. The first question on the survey was this: how much time do you think you spend on screens of any sort per day? If you could put up the pie chart, here's the answers that we received. 41% of kids said, I think I spend between 2 to 5 hours. 29% said, I think it's about 5 to 8 hours. And 14% said 8+ hours per day. Then, after that, we actually had the students go on their phones and check the reality of what their screen time was like. And that's just on their phones. That doesn't include screens, other types of screens, devices that they're using. You know what we found? That 30% of them actually underestimated their total screen time. And again, that was just for their phone, not to mention other devices. So here's what we found, almost 41% of students were spending between 5 to 8 hours per day just on their phones. Almost 10% were spending over 8 hours per day on phones just in the past few weeks. So let me talk about some of the effects that screens are having on kids and teens. I'll share several categories again. The first is learning. Studies are showing that higher screen time among kids and teens is leading to lower grades, worse test scores, delays in language development in little kids, and increased behavioral problems both in the classroom and in the home. Next category, social skills. Kids and teens who spend a lot of time on screens or social media, they're often isolated from their peers, and they start to think that interacting with people on social media or through video games, that's what it means to actually socialize. And as a result, kids develop feelings of awkwardness and anxiety when it comes to being with their peers in person, especially when they're put in situations where they need to carry on a conversation with someone in person. And I can tell you from experience, I and the youth leaders here, our team has actually seen this a lot, where kids will come into youth group and immediately just go right on their phones, sit away from other kids because they feel awkward at the thought of simply talking to other people. We also have seen this many times where kids will come in. We don't let the kids be on their phones during worship or Bible study or small groups, but before and after, sometimes we let them. And we've noticed that there's been a number of students who just go on their phones. They make no effort to talk to anyone else. In fact, they avoid it. They just stay on their phones. And then parents will come to us and say, yeah, I don't know if my kid's going to come to youth group anymore because they just didn't seem to be able to make any friends. Well, parents, let's work together to fix that. Do you know how you learn social skills? By spending time with people, by socializing with them. Talking to people, texting them, sure, it's fine, it's good, but it's so much more impersonal, right? Than actually talking to someone in person, free from distractions. I mean, think about it. We call this thing, we call it social media, and yet it has in so many ways destroyed people's skills and ability to actually socialize with people. There's a whole lot more that I could go off on that. Next category, brain development. It's a fact that young children, especially 3 and under, they learn by observing their environment and imitating the adults around them. Pretty amazing, isn't that? That's how God created humans. So think about it. If a little kid is on their screen too much, what are they not doing? If their eyes are focused here, they're not observing the environment around them that is so crucial for their development and learning different skills, learning how to communicate. Social media and gaming have rewired kids' brains to seek out instant rewards and to avoid delayed gratification. For children and for teenage brains, the prefrontal cortex is experiencing crucial development. By the way, that's the area of the brain that's responsible for higher level cognitive functions like planning, decision making, and self-control. It has been proven that too much screen time hinders the development of the prefrontal cortex. And here's what's really scary. It can even cause changes in brain structure. That should concern all of us. Next category, attention span. I and probably a lot of you have seen this with a lot of little kids and with teens flip through YouTube videos or Instagram reels every 3 to 5 seconds because they lose interest so fast and they can't stay focused on one thing for more than a few seconds. Well, too much screen time destroys attention span. How do you think that's affecting them in school, in church, and their ability to learn and their desire to learn? Here's an interesting detail for you parents. Teens get an average of 192 alerts and notifications on their phones per day from communication apps like Messages, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, WhatsApp, and so on. So with those numbers, think about this. If a teenager gets 7 hours of sleep per night, which is not enough for their age, but if they just get 7 hours of sleep per night, that averages to 11 messages per waking hour or 1 notification every 5 minutes. And we wonder why kids are constantly on their phones. Having cell phones in their pockets or in their backpacks in the classroom has actually been shown to decrease focus and test scores. And I used to be a high school teacher, and I actually saw this a lot. It makes sense, doesn't it? Because even if their phone is not in their hand or on their desk, if it's in their pocket and buzz, it vibrates, they get a notification, or they hear it vibrate in their backpack, what happens right away? Their attention is taken away from what the teacher is saying to, who's that? Who just messaged me? What app is it on? What do they want? I gotta know. And it's like, man, I can't wait. Like, I gotta know. I'm really curious. I can't focus. I need to know who this is. So maybe I'll try to sneak it and look. And meanwhile, they've just missed everything the teacher just said. How about mental health? Adolescents that spend more time online are more likely to dislike their appearance. Think of how sad that is. Let me talk specifically about social media. Though it's also true that even kids without social media that spend too much time on screens, it does affect their mental health as well. The average age, you guys with me? Yes. The average age at which children open a social media account, guess how old? 12 and a half years old. Even though U.S. law requires it to be 13. Some studies show that nearly 40% of kids between the ages of 8 to 12 have social media accounts. So that means that 40% of kids have social media accounts before they're even legally allowed to. A couple other stats for you. 80% of teenagers between the ages of 13 to 18 have social media. So that's 4 out of every 5 teenagers. Data collected from the years 2023 to present, 2025, it shows that teens in the U.S. spend an average of 4.8 to 5 hours a day on social media. Many studies show that spending too much time on social media, and this is sad, it often results in higher rates of isolation from other people, as well as higher rates of anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts. Why? Social media breeds comparison culture. It is constantly feeding them the idea that they need more, they're ugly without these products that these influencers have, or that they have to look like this person. Being yourself isn't enough. You gotta look like these people. You have to be like these people to be cool and popular. Guys, teens already struggle enough with the issue of comparing themselves with others, the people that are just immediately like right in their presence. Social media makes it worse by training them to compare themselves with millions of people all over the world. I'll give you an example of this. There was a young woman today named Alexis Spence. When she was 11 years old, she got her first Instagram account. And interestingly, when she was 11, she recorded her thoughts in her diary. At first, she loved it. She would write about how happy and excited she was as her follower count increased. But after only 6 months, Instagram's algorithm started sending her a steady stream of dieting and anorexia content, leading her to a mental health spiral. She experienced years of an eating disorder, self-harm, and depression. I have a picture for you to please, if you could put it up on the screen, guys. This is a picture that Alexis drew in her diary when she was 11 years old. Shortly after having social media. If you cannot see it, I'll explain it to you. She's sitting crying in the corner with her phone and her laptop on the ground nearby. Her thoughts, she writes her thoughts in the cloud above, and here are some of the words going through her mind. Stupid, ugly, rumors, worthless, weirdo, freak, and no one loves you. 11 years old. And I wish I could say that was a unique case. Social media is planting seeds in our children's minds and constantly telling them how to be cool, how to be beautiful, how to be valuable, how to be rich, how to be happy, what they need to do in order to fit in and be liked, how to get a guy or a girl to like you, what makes a person good or bad, what true love is, how they should dress, what their moral standards should be, what's most important in life, whether Christianity is true or just a hoax. And guys, it is playing a huge part in the formation of their identity. Not to mention there's a ton of bullying online and on social media as well. Screens are teaching and discipling our teenagers. Parents, what are you allowing social media to teach your kids? Do you even know? Do you know what they're being exposed to? All of the videos and the content that they're seeing on social media, are you aware of it? Your child's worldview is being shaped by these things. And again, I'm not saying social media in and of itself is evil. It's about the time and the content. What kind of people are we producing for the future? You know, with all of these facts that I just shared with you, think of where our culture and our country is headed in the next 5, 10, 25 years. And it's impacting our youth right here. Going back to the survey that we did, with our students in the youth ministry, here's a question that we asked. Which social media, if any, do you use? 4 out of every 5 students have at least one social media platform. The average student has accounts on 2 to 3 social media apps, and some have up to 6 accounts. We also found that the average student in our youth ministry has about 300 followers. So parents, that means that approximately 300 people are viewing whatever your child posts. And if their account is not private, then even more people can see it. Another question that we asked, how many people do you follow on social media that you don't know in real life? Meaning, you've never met them in person. The answer we got is that the average student follows about 350 people they don't know. So that's 350 people that you and your child don't know personally, who are influencing them by feeding them content. Show of hands. For parents in the room with kids between the ages of 11 and 18, how many of you would not be okay with your child seeing the up-close video of Charlie Kirk's assassination? Show of hands. That was one of the questions in our survey. The average number of students in our youth group in this age range at Town Center Church that saw the video, 58.6%, saw a man get brutally murdered up close. The survey asked a follow-up question to those who did see it about how they accessed it. And here's what we found. 27% said they looked it up intentionally. The next 2 groups were not seeking it out, but they still saw it. And this next one I think is personally the most concerning. 32% said the video just randomly came up on their social media feed. They weren't even looking for it, but it just randomly popped up on their social media feed. 41% said that it was either sent to them by someone else or that someone showed it to them in person. Parents, I want you to know something. Many students came to me and to other youth leaders and expressed distress at having seen that video. We had middle schoolers even that are traumatized because they saw it. Another question in the survey, using a movie rating scale, G, PG, PG-13, R, what is the level of content you are viewing online? This includes swearing, sexual content, violent content. Here's what we found. If you want to put up the graph, 10% said the level of content that I see online is rated G. 18.6% said PG. 57.1% said PG-13, and 14.3% said an R rating. Another question, have you ever been sent an inappropriate photo or video by someone online? Answer, 39% said yes. That's in our youth group. Question, in the last 12 months, have you talked to people online that you have never met in real life? 41% said yes. Keep that in your mind for later. Another question, do you share your location with anyone other than family? On your phone or on social media? 31.4% said yes. And by the way, parents, nationwide, about 65% of Gen Z share their location on their phones or through social media with people that are not their family. I know that this is a lot of information to take in and process. By the way, a typical teaching for me, like a 45 to 50 minute teaching, is usually like 2, maybe 3 pages of notes. For this and all the research that I did for this message, I had 17 pages of notes. So I didn't Well, you're clapping, but we're going to be here for 2 more hours, so get comfortable. Obviously, don't have time to go through all of it, so what I did last night is I made a video. It's 53 minutes long of extra content that we didn't have time to discuss here, but there's going to be a QR code up on the screen that if any of you are interested in watching. So the first half of the video is for everyone and just focusing a lot on some of the damaging effects that social media has and just screens in general. And then the second half is more directed toward parents. And helping them, giving them some advice and some other facts. Oh, please don't listen to it right now. Man, hearing the sound of your own voice is like unbearable. It makes me feel really bad for all of you having to listen to me right now. But you can find more additional, I hope it's helpful to you, but that's there for you as well. I want to finish with a little bit of application. Now, for 2 groups. First is for everyone. Second part of the application is for parents specifically. So, first of all, for everyone, some application. Be wise with your screen time and content. Examine, pray about whether your screen, whatever screen it might be, has become an idol in your life. And do what needs to be done to obey what the Apostle John said in our verse, keep yourself from idols and from sin. It's not just about, okay, I spend too much time on this device so it's become an idol. What about the content you're viewing, listening to? And parents, by the way, it's not just social media, it's music. There's so much just trashy music out there. So some steps that you, all of us, can take in general is to set screen time limits if needed. Sometimes we don't have the self-control to just say, oh yeah, I'll just keep track. But sometimes we might need to set screen time limits, and there are apps and things that can help hold you accountable. If necessary, set screen content limits and blockers. Third, get accountability from other believers to keep you in check and help you do this, because it can be hard if we're doing it alone. And chances are, if you're thinking, yeah, this applies to me, you're not the only person here today that is thinking, I need to make some changes. So let's work together as the body of Christ and help each other. And fourth, and this is so important, guys, spend more time with the Lord and with other believers, building each other up, without being distracted by screens. There's a lot more application for adults and just people in general that's in that video that you can look at, and some of the spiritual effects that it's having on us, and we dive into some different scripture, but we don't have time now. A little bit of application for parents of minors, 18 and under. How do we care for and shepherd our kids right here? I think there's a lot of ways. And I have an exhortation to all of the parents here today: take action. 4 things that parents can do to help their kids. And like I said, there's more in the video, but here's 4 things parents can do to help their kids. First, set and enforce screen time limits for your kids. If you could put up this graphic on the screen, this can be helpful that a lot of people that have researched this, studied this, have put together. So you can kind of read this on your own if you want to take a picture and read later. But basically, 18 months and younger, don't let them look at screens at all. Okay, remember, they need to be looking around, observing their environment. 18 to 24 months, very little screen time, and make sure it's not just mindless stuff that they're watching, but educational stuff that's going to actually stimulate their minds, and watch it with them. For most of these, it's encouraging parents to watch this with your kids and then have conversations about it. Ages 2 to 5, max, the encouragement is 1 hour per day. And this is from people who have done tons of research and studied. And again, don't just choose mindless content for them to watch. Let it be good quality stuff. Ages 6 to 12, and then 12 and older, again, you can read those on your own. But this leads into my second point of application for parents is to create, and force screen-free zones. For example, the dinner table. When we have dinner together as a family, there's no screens allowed at the table. And that, parents, set the example. You don't have a screen either. All of you, be fully present with each other. You're a family. And I just so strongly encourage you, parents, if you're not already in this habit, get into the habit of having family dinner together. Make it a priority in your home. Another good place for a screen-free zone is family time. Create designated times and spaces where the family just hangs out together without any screens. Parents, read the Bible together with your family. Play games together and watch how it will transform your relationships, your family. Bedtime is a major screen-free zone need. I often see students come into youth group on Sundays looking like zombies because they're so exhausted because they stayed up till 4 a.m. playing video games or on their phones. And listen, that's not me making assumptions. So many students have told me that to my face. Parents, we got to do better than that. I can guarantee you one thing, they're learning nothing in church when on a church night they're staying up so late. They're not learning a single thing in church. Let's work together. I've shared in the past that our desire as leaders of the church and in the youth ministry and for Pastor John leading the kids ministry, our desire is to partner with parents to work together in discipling your kids. You are the biggest discipler of your kid. I have very little influence in their life. You are the one that they're watching. So parents, I encourage you, take action. Now I know that I have a lot of students in here in our youth group that hate me right now. Especially if the parents, wait, you want them to hate me? And here's the thing. Students, if your parents are going to heed this teaching and do something about it, I know you're probably going to hate me, but students, look at me. Ask me if I care. I tell the students that all the time when they make fun of my hair or how I dress. I just say, ask me if I care. So, students, I love you. And I care more about your holiness than your happiness. A third point of application as we get ready to wrap it up. Parents, especially of young kids, monitor your child's screen content. Be intentional about knowing what your child is accessing on their phones or on the internet, through games, whatever it might be. And at the same time, I would also caution against becoming a helicopter parent. There's a fine line between being intentional and helpful in your child's life and the opposite of constantly breathing down their neck, watching every moment of their life, never giving them any freedom or any opportunities to show responsibility and maturity. You need to pray and seek the Lord about what a healthy balance is for your family. Also, I would encourage you to get advice from the leaders at this church. Myself and the other pastors would love to help you with this, and you can run your ideas, your vision by us, and we can help you gauge whether maybe you're being a little overzealous or maybe not zealous enough. For you parents, especially of teens, please don't miss this. This is a very important point. I want to caution you against going home and just practically interrogating your kids. Oh man, was Pastor Jay talking about you today? And just interrogating them about being on their screens. Please, parents, don't do that. Pray first and then have an open, non-accusatory, calm conversation with your teen. Let it be out of love and grace. let them talk too. Listen to them. Gentle but firm parenting leads to transformed children. And the reality, parents, is that the vast majority of students who do something unwise online, it's because they truly don't understand the full scope of the ramifications it might have. Because they're young and dumb. I say with a smile on my face. They're inexperienced in life. I mean, imagine what you guys would have been like if you had access to all of this stuff and all of these temptations at that age. Do you really think that you would have been so much better than them? Who does? Good. Don't lie. Some parents here, and I say this with a heavy heart, some parents here have no idea the struggle that your children are facing. The insecurities that they have, the temptations that they are just slammed with at this age because of the screens, the social media that they have that we didn't have at their age. So please, parents, show a lot of grace and compassion when discussing this with your teens and lovingly help them. And my fourth point of application, if the worship team wants to start coming up, parents, set the example. Don't be a hypocrite. No matter what age your child is, your kids are watching you and they're going to follow the example that you set. If they see you on your phone all the time, what do you think they're going to do? Parents, you have your kids for such a short time and you can never get that time back. Don't waste it. Love them, cherish them, spend time with them, and listen to them. One final thought. We have a great opportunity for every single one of you guys in 3 weeks from today. There are many dangers today that youth and young people in general are facing on social media, from things like human trafficking, to bullying, to predators lurking. We have a brother in this church who is a detective with Palm Beach Sheriff's Office. And I asked him, he specifically works in the area of sex crimes. And I asked him to come and share with our students several months ago on a Wednesday night. And he shared with them some of the red flags and dangers they need to watch out for and educated them on social media. And hey, don't be sharing your location with people. Don't be doing this. Don't be doing that. And I have asked him, and it was excellent, by the way. Students were very grateful and learned a lot. Much good has come from it. I have asked him, and he has graciously accepted the offer to come here on Sunday, October 26th, after second service, to give a training to all of you. And there's a QR code up on the screen that you can scan and register for this event. The event is totally free, but I would ask you, please register for it, because we're going to buy a ton of pizzas since it's going to be during lunchtime. The church is going to buy a ton of pizzas for everyone who registers, and it's either going to be in here or upstairs at the end of the hall. And he's going to share with, it's not just parents, though please parents, be there for this, prioritize this, but it's just for all of you as well. Even if you're a young adult or whoever you might be, you need to know about some very dangerous things that are out there. That, again, he specializes in this stuff all the time, and he sees case after case. So he has graciously offered, he's going to be here Sunday. He's here every Sunday, but he's going to come do a training for all of you October 26th after church. And the reason we're doing this is because our hearts as pastors here at Town Center Church is to equip you all, to build you up, and to help you avoid the idols, and to make you aware of some of the dangers we're facing today and how to guard against them. Amen.